Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel Computer Science Classes by Nikhil Srivastav, and in this series of video lecture we will try to understand the concept of constructors. So a constructor. Okay. So what are constructors and how a constructors are called? Why do we create constructors? What are the intricacies of a constructor? All these concepts we will cover in the upcoming video lectures on constructors. So before trying to understand constructors, let us try to understand the need behind constructor. So what I have done, I have designed a class. This class we have already seen, the student class. I have designed a student class, and let us make one change. Let us make the student ID and name private, and then there is one method. What is the name of that method? That method, instance method, is the show student method. That is just displaying the details of the student. Okay, so this much class I have designed, and now if I run this application, I will go clean and build, and then I will run this application. Just see what is output. The student SID is -13120, and the student I'll just make change. There's a syntactical change. Student name, the student name, the student SID is the student name is okay. All right, so it's a typo error, so please forgive me for that. I'll just go and run this application. Now output will be clear. Okay, so let us see what is output. The student SID is -13120, and the student name is, it is not displaying anything. That means the student name is null. So if you see, we created this object. Which object? The object of the class student, the S1 object. But we have not initialized the object to proper values. Initializing the object to proper value means that you initialize the object. What is initialization to the object? So what is initialization to object? Just try to understand this with the help of this example. Suppose I open I'll just open a new window, and I'll just try to show you with the help of this example. Suppose this is brush. So this is my memory, and now one object has been, when you write student S1, one object has been created, and this is the S1 object, and the S1 object has the ID value as 13120, and this value is null. It does not contain anything. So we need some mechanism by which we can properly initialize the object at the time of creation. And what does initialization means? Initialization means that we will have proper name and proper ID for the student object in this specific case, or given the case for any object. You design any class and you create an object of the class, you want to properly initialize the object. So for doing that purpose, to properly initialize the object, you will use the concept of constructors. Okay, so over here, if I go and I'll go to my PowerPoint presentation and just try to understand what are constructors. So we will go through this slide point by point. So constructors have the same name as the name of the class, and constructors have no return type, and constructors are used to initialize an object. What do all these things mean? Let us take first 2 points. Constructors have the same name as the class, and constructors have no return type. So there is my class. My class name is student. So here I design a method, and the name of the method is, say, suppose student. So this is not an ordinary method, my dear friends. Now it is a constructor. Why it is a constructor? Because it has the same name as the name of the class. What is the name of the class? The name of the class is student. And what is the name of this method? This method name is also student. Sorry. That is why now it is a constructor. So I write in something like this: the student, the student constructor has been called. I write something like this. Then what will be the output of this program? I will just comment out this piece of code. Okay, now you go to the presentation. Constructors have the same name of the class and constructors have no return type. So here also you see, like this method, the show student method, this has a return type of void. But am I associating any return type with this? No, I am not associating any return type with student this. So this is a constructor. It has no return type and it has the same name as the name of the class. That is why it is not an ordinary member function. It is a constructor of the class. And if you see the fourth point, this point, which point? This point. Constructors are called implicitly. Sorry, constructors are called implicitly when the object of the class is created. That means you do not have to give a call to a constructor. Constructors will be called automatically whenever you create an object of the class. For example, over here, if you see, there was one method. Which method? The show student method. You had to make an implicit call to this method. How did you make? By the use of dot operator. You wrote the code s1.showStudent. You made an implicit call to show student. But this constructor, there is no, you don't have to make. Like in the show student method, you have to make an explicit call, not an implicit call. I'm sorry. You may have to make an explicit call to call the show student method. But for the student, this constructor, you don't have to make an explicit call. It is called implicitly. And when it is called, whenever the object of the class is created. Okay. If you are not clear, then let us see what is the output of this program. And things will become more clear. I will just clean and build this application. It is taking some time. So all these concepts will help you in your placements, in getting a solid understanding of object-oriented programming. I'm making this concept, just let me explain. So what my purpose in making these videos is that, to make things simple, I take a lot of time, I go very slowly so that concepts become very clear to students, so that I am basically targeting beginners who want to learn things. Okay, so just let us go to the output. This was on a side note. I'll just run this application. The student constructor has been called. Why the student constructor was called? Because we were creating an object of the class, and once we created an object of the class, an implicit call to the constructor was made, and the output and what we wrote inside the constructor, the student constructor has been called, and that was displayed as an output. Okay, this is our program. Now suppose I do one more thing. I copy this particular piece of code, I copy it, I paste it, again I paste it. Now what I am trying to do over here, so student is a class, and class can have many objects. So I create 3 objects of the student class. So can you guess what will be the output of this program? I think you can guess it. I will clean and build this application, and then I will run this application. Okay. The student constructor has been called how many times? It has been called 3 times. Why it has been called 3 times? It has been called 3 times because we have created 3 constructors of the class. And we saw in our PowerPoint presentation that whenever we create an object of the class, the constructor of the class is implicitly called. That is why when we create 3 objects of the student class, the constructor a call to the constructor was made 3 times, and the student constructor has been called was displayed 3 times on the screen. So this is the so I think now this point is clear. Constructors are implicitly called when an object of this object of the class is created. But now there is one more important thing. Constructors are used to initialize an object. How constructors can be used to initialize an object? So for example, I want the student has a SID and the student has a name. Previously we saw over here that the ID and the name were getting garbage values. So we don't want this. We want to properly initialize the object at the time of its creation, and for that purpose I will use a constructor. So how I will do it inside the body of a constructor, I will just write the code for it. Okay, so for the time being I'm just going to remove these three objects. And then inside the student constructor I am going to write something like this: integer s and string n. And what should I write over here? I will say SID equal to s, SID equal to s, and name equal to n. I'm going to write something like this. Okay, like this. Yeah, clear. So now I create another object of the class, suppose student class s1, and inside this student class I pass suppose 21 comma webhub. Okay, so I will not pass webhub, I will pass Krishna. Okay, let us take some names of God to in our programs. Let us try to run this. Clean and build and run. The student constructor has been called, but now I will write one more piece of code, and I will say s1 dot show student semicolon. Now what will be the output? Clean and build. Now I run this application. You see, the student constructor has been called, and then once I call the show student method, the student SID is 21, the student name is Krishna. How come this is possible? This is possible because you called the constructor was called when you created the object, and you passed two arguments to the constructors. One argument was the name and the other argument was the SID. And inside this constructor also you initialize SID to S and you initialize the name to N, and S and N were containing the values 21 and Krishna. So on a side note, I would just like to make things clear, I would again like to say that this SID and name belong to the current object. And what is the current object? The current object over here is S1. That is why when we say SID and name, whose SID and whose name? SID and name of S1 object that has been set to 21 and Krishna inside the body of the constructor. That is why we are getting this output. The student ID is 21 and the student name is Krishna. Okay, so this is the output. So we covered 4 points. What 4 points have we covered? Constructors have the same name as the name of the class. We saw over here also that we created one constructor and the name of the constructor was student and the name of the class was also student. Constructors have no return type. I have not associated any return type over here. Constructors are used to initialize an object. Yes, constructors has been used to initialize this object S1. Then SID has been set to initialized to 21 as a name has been initialized to Krishna. Okay, and constructors are implicitly called when the object of the class is created. So what was my class? The name of my class was student, and I created an object of the class. What was the name of the class? What was the name of the object? S1. Whenever I created the object, the constructor was implicitly called. I did not had to make an explicit call to constructor. It was automatically called. So this is the important concept of constructors. Okay, so yeah. So in the next video we will see how can we overload constructors, what are default arguments in a constructors, what are parameterized constructors. All these things we will see in the next video lecture. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel and please do like my video and comment on my videos. Thank you so much for watching them.